Welcome to RJ Garage. Today we're going to work on a 1962 Studebaker. My name is Jim Weed, and Richard Vidic and I are putting together this video series for you to enjoy some of the things that we get to work on, and we'll show you how we do it. I've got about 40 years or so in the automotive business. I worked for the Ferrari dealer, and I was an apprentice under a couple of very good Ferrari mechanics for a long time. And so one of the things we want to do is bring to you some of the things that I've learned, some of the methods that I use. There's multiple ways to do things. My way is not the only way, not necessarily always the right way, because there's more than one way. But we want to bring some things to you so that you can learn and gain some experience like I gained from the guys that I worked with. So today we're going to do kingpins on this. Kingpin is the suspension upright member, and we've got play in this so that when you rock the wheel, you can feel the play in that wheel. And what that does is when you're driving down the road, that wheel's wobbling and can cause funny steering or loose steering. And so what we're going to try and do is try and build that, replace the bushings in that kingpin, and there's a bearing in there, and we're going to replace those and tighten that whole system up. So I've already had this side apart, so this part's going to go a little on the fast side. But you're going to take the wheel off, obviously, and then you're going to take the drum off. The drum's got a nut, and we place our parts. I've got a cart over here with all my tools. Since I've already done the other side, I kind of already have my tools set up, but I've got a cart with some space on it. We organize our parts as we remove them, keep everything in order so that you don't forget what order you took things off and how to put it back together. The object of the exercise is always whatever you take off, you're going to put back on. You should not have hardware left over. And that's our goal. Backing plate is held on by 6 bolts. So you've got hexes on the back that you need to hold on to in order to get things off. These were on pretty tight, and they should be pretty tight, because when you step on the brakes, all the forces of the car are twisting against these 6 bolts in order to stop the car when you step on the brakes. Anytime you're pulling bolts that are hard, you need to be real careful so that you don't slip. You don't want to bust knuckles. I usually try to pull towards me and do it in a manner that's going to keep my hands out of the way. If you've got to push away from you, make sure that your hand's not, up here where you're going to get caught on a piece of metal. You want to just be aware of where your hand is going to go when the wrench slips. I'm kind of partial to snap-on. Any good tool will work if you're doing this job at home. We're going to get into some things that probably you're not going to have at home in terms of equipment, tools and equipment, but you can do it with other tools. Personally, I like snap-on. They last a long time. They're really high quality. They fit good in your hand. But like I said, you can use anything. When I had my shop years ago, I had hired high school kids to teach them how to work on cars. And one of the first things they always wanted to do is go out and spend a bunch of money and buy snap-on tools. My recommendation has always been, go buy you a nice set of Craftsman. They're reasonably priced. And when you wear it out, then you can turn around and spend $100 for one snap-on wrench and get you a good one. You'll never wear it out. Of course, they are guaranteed forever, but you know, I've got wrenches from my very original Craftsman toolbox that I got when I was 16. So that was a lot of years ago. And you know, you don't use an 11 millimeter wrench very often. So that one 11 millimeter wrench has served me well all these years, and I haven't really had a need to go out and buy, spend the money for an expensive Snap-on or Mac. Now, you've probably noticed I had 6 bolts. I loosened all 6, just got them loose. I took the top 2 off on this side and the top 2 off on this side. I left 2 on. I did that because I don't want this thing to fall off in my face. And I've got all my hardware taken off. It's all in my pile. So it's all organized. And these nuts and bolts will stay where they need to stay. So leaving my bolts on, we've got this little piece of metal right here, which looks like it needs a little coercion to come off. This is for the grease seal on the wheel. So there's a grease seal at the back of the wheel bearings so that any grease that gets out the back of the drum, instead of getting onto the shoes, will go inside this piece, and there's a little hole at the bottom where the grease can ooze out. So this is very important. Good piece to have. It'll help crud off the shoes. So now I'm down to the last 2 bolts. This thing is loose. Because I left 2 bolts in it, it's not all in my face. I'm going to slide that off and kind of pull it away. The brake hose is still attached. And so we're just going to move this brake assembly out of the way. And I have my handy dandy piece of wire that I'm going to use to poke in this thing so that I can tie it, find some good spot up here to tie it up to, and we can get this out of our way. We don't want it to just hang on the brake hose. So we don't want this whole weight all hanging on the hose. So this is our kingpin right here. And what we're going to do is, where this thing rotates, we're gonna take this piece off and replace those bushings. In order to gain all of that access, we've got a cotter pin down here on the nut in the bottom. We've got a cotter pin and a nut on the tie rod end. So we're going to take those off next. Now this is the part where some people don't want to see how the sausage is made, but we have to get this piece loose from the arm. You use a pickle fork like this. They usually come in two sizes, small and large. Large ones are for ball joints, small ones are for tie rod ends. Since this is a tie rod end, we're going to slip this in here kind of right between the boot and the metal. And I don't know if you can hear that, but it kind of rings up tight. I've got a fairly heavy sledgehammer. You don't want to use a claw hammer because it doesn't have enough mass to it. You need something that's going to hit it hard and heavy. So you're going to hit it. And hopefully it comes off just like that. All right. Our brake drum is fine right there. That's out of our way. This is the part we're going to replace. So now we're going to dig into here and see if we can find that cotter pin through all 60 years of grease. By and large, cotter pins are sacrificial, so you don't always have to try and save them. Now, I just put these through the hole of the cotter pin. Just one leg through that. You can use that, kind of pound on it and see if that cotter pin will slip out easily. Shouldn't beat on your tools too much. And that obviously is not willing. So I used a pair of wire cutters to kind of hang on to it. Unfortunately, what that does is it does put dings into the cotter pin, so this is useless. Cotter pins are made out of soft metal, so they're designed to bend because you want to bend it over when we go back together, and I'll show you how to do that when we get back together with it. But because you put a ding in it, damage onto the metal, it creates a weak spot, so then it'll ultimately not do what it's supposed to do. Which is to prevent movement. And once again, as you take parts off, you want to put them on your workbench, and we'll show you that so that you can see, how to keep things organized. So we've got this cut loose, we've got this cut loose. Ultimately, we're going to pound on this and drive it up. We need to take the upper loose. Now these are on here tight, so I don't know if we're going to show all of this in the video, but I got a big wrench. This one is 1 1/8 inches, and these are going to rotate off of here. And once again, for safety, what I do, and what I've been taught to do, this wrench is bent. So there's two ways this wrench can go on. It can go on to the inside, it can go on to the outside. So a lot of times it's easier if you're pulling on it to the inside of where you want to be instead of the outside. Personal preference, but I always feel like I have a little more control if I'm on the inside like this. and that moved. Life is good. Same thing on the other side. So now I'm going to push up on it. What I say earlier about pushing on things. You want to be careful about what's above and what you can hit. So I try to push open hand so you can kind of not bust your knuckles. I'm going to put myself in a good position where I can get enough leverage, and we'll see how lucky we get here. Obviously, this one is not going to be happy. All right, we're back. This wrench isn't long enough. This is another big wrench. So we're going to double these up, give ourselves a little more leverage, hook these two together, and hopefully we can get this to break loose. And we're going to ease on it. And it moved. Slow and steady, nobody's in a hurry. Get in a hurry, you hurt yourself. Get in a hurry, you hurt others. Or worst case scenario, because we will heal, the car gets hurt. And the car is not going to heal itself. All right, you can see this side is not happy. So it's kind of fighting me a little bit. Hard to say whether that's rust, just old, 60 years of grunge. So it's stiff. Turn it back. It goes easy going back up. Stiff again, go easy. Just work it back and forth. Once again, we're not in a hurry. Old cars aren't like new cars. New stuff, chances are it was put together 2 or 3 years ago and it'll come right apart. This probably hadn't moved in 60 years. So you just want to be kind and gentle to it as you take things apart. I do a little bit from both sides, just kind of doing it evenly. There's no reason other than if I did one side all the way without breaking the other side loose, then you run the risk of having some flex in the system that will prevent you from getting it loose. Like this one that was hard, if I had already gotten this one completely out, then that would want to be trying to moving and could bind. So we want to try and loosen things up first. And we're going to run everything till we get it close to the end, and then we'll take it off. All right, so we set our parts aside. We've got some rubber bushings in here. We'll have to work those out when we get this thing loose. These little rubber seals in here, because when you grease this. All right, so once we get this bottom loose, then the top should work its way out of these holes. I'm just going to wipe things down a little bit right now, just so that we don't get ourselves too greasy. What we need to do next is we're gonna pound on this. We need to get this piece up out of here. It's got a keyway in it. It's not on a taper, so it's a straight shot. It usually moves pretty easily. For this next step, I'm gonna go wash my hands because I'm gonna hold a big hammer in my hand and whack stuff. So I don't wanna do that with greasy hands because you don't want hammers flying unless you're mad. We don't get mad here. Be right back. I'm back. I got a reasonable facsimile of being clean. So we're gonna take our BMFH. Those of you who have used one of these before know exactly what that is. For the rest of you, don't look it up. You probably don't wanna know. Basically, we're gonna tap on this. And we're gonna drive this piece upward. But in order to do that, we're gonna put the nut back on because we don't want to run the risk of damaging the threads. So we want to leave a little bit of stud inside the nut, but we want enough threads on the nut in order to make sure that when we bang on it, that we're not going to damage any of the threads. And hopefully this part goes well. Look at that. Was that beautiful or what? All right. Now you notice I didn't have to whack it very hard. Big hammer, big mass, don't need to whack stuff too hard. I could do a whole series on mass in motion tends to stay in motion and all the science behind whacking stuff with a hammer, but just suffice it to say, big hammer, you don't usually have to hit too hard. And that's how it's done. So what we've got here is, this is our kingpin. This part rotates. Actually, this part stays still and the wheel rotates, so it steers. And inside here is a bearing and a bushing. And what we're going to do is initially clean these parts. So we'll wash this up, get these kind of sanitized, and then we'll show you what it's like to push the bushing out and push the bearings and get things. So at this point, we're going to kind of clean parts, and I'm going to show you my tray, all the parts that I've been putting down, and then we'll come in here and we'll clean all of this area up because we've got 60-year-old grease on this, we've got 60-year-old grease on this, so we're going to clean all of this up. Probably not going to show you that because A, it's not any fun to do and not real interesting when you get down to it. So we're going to try and keep the videos to things that hopefully you'll like and you can learn from. Nobody learned anything cleaning grease. So that's where we are right now, and we'll be back. Thank you very much.